I started here as a bouncer in 1990 and became assistant manager around 97, I think, 98, and then general manager right around 2000. And I've been here ever since. I was kind of a history major, and I've always enjoyed history, and that's what I love about this place. It's got character. Mm-hmm. There are rumors going around that we were a way station for the Underground Railroad. Mm-hmm. That they would, downtown Indianapolis used to be covered in tunnels, and they would sneak the runaways through the tunnels and hide them out in our basement, and then sneak them through tunnels from here to the train station, get them on trains up to Chicago and Detroit, and then on up into Canada, because until Lincoln gave the Emancipation Proclamation, it was still legal for any Southern bounty hunter to come north, see a black guy walking around, say, you got your papers, and take them. Mm-hmm. So they would get them on up into Canada. But that's one of the most interesting things. The Slippery Noodle opened up in 1850 as the Tremont House. In those days, like I was showing you up front, it was the front bar, what's now our game room, upstairs where the family lived. The room we're sitting in right now was actually the stables for the inn. It opened up as a traveler's inn for Union Station Railroad. And I believe Indianapolis had the first Union Station Railroad in the nation. Before ours, all the train depots were owned by the train companies. Since 1850, the doors have never shut. It's gone through many different owners and many different names, but it's always been open. Even during Prohibition, there were stills in the basement where they were making booze. The owner actually met a young lady who was born in the bar back in the early 1900s. And when her family ran the place, John Dillinger was born about 20 miles southwest of here. And he and his gang hid out in this room we're in right now. And Al Brady and his gang hid out here. Because back in those days, during the Depression, people had sort of lost faith in government, and these guys were kind of seen as kind of Robin Hood figures. So upstairs, where our offices are now, once again, during the Depression, they would rent out rooms to people. It was a boarding house. But about half those rooms opened up as a house of ill repute, if you will. And two of the guys got in a fight over one of the girls. And one guy stabbed the other one and killed him, left a knife sticking in the front bar. When he ran out in the city, shut the brothel down at that time. Wow. That was in 1953. So it ran from the 20s all the way up to the 50s. And anytime you've got places that are, you're talking about the ghosts, right? Yeah. Okay. Anytime you've got a place that has that long of a life, there's always some residual. I mean, in this room, I've walked through here, like I said, I've spent the night here probably a dozen times with different paranormal groups. And they set up the cameras and everything like that, and they all come back with, yes, you're haunted. They think it's mostly like a residual haunting is what they call, rather than an active haunting. But our ghosts still get my attention at least once every couple of weeks and whatnot. I hear footsteps, I hear doors slamming, glass breaking, and the first thought I always have is the bad guy has hid out in here. Mm-hmm. And so I turn on all the lights and walk through looking for somebody. And if I don't find anybody, then I check my kitchen and make sure I don't have any fire or anything like that. And then I check my pipes for flood. And once I get through those three things, I'm down to ghost and I'm out. One time I was up in the office area with one of my doormen, and just clear as day, I heard my name called. And I thought it was the owner. And I walked into the office where he was, and I go, yeah, what do you need? He goes, I didn't say anything. I go, I heard my name. And the guy with me said, yeah, we heard somebody say Marty. And the owner goes, thank God, because I've been hearing stuff all day. I have actually, Easter Sunday, there's always something on Easter Sunday, because we're open the Saturday before. Mm-hmm. And normally then when I'm putting the drawers up and stuff, one time my bartenders finished their drawers and gave them to me to take upstairs. And they said, do you want us to hang around? And I said, no, I'll just hang out with the ghosts. I shouldn't have said that. I get upstairs, I put the drawers in the safe, I walk across to the washroom, I come out heading to the front office, and I stop for a second. I go, there's somebody right behind me. And I turned around, and there was a human shadow just standing there about 8 feet behind me. And as I looked at it, it disappeared. Wow. At which point I said, oh gee, look at the time, I've got to go. I left the lights on, I left the music playing, I did not set the alarm, I got out. Mostly it's the footsteps, and I've walking up that hallway, there are times I've come down from the office at the end of the night, and I've heard footsteps coming up the hall. And I'm thinking, oh, there's somebody in here. And so I wait and I jump around the corner and scream, "Gotcha," and there's nobody there. I actually had, this goes back to the upstairs being the brothel, but we actually had a couple get married on this stage right here. And as they were getting married, I believe it was the bride, looked up, and after the ceremony she said it was really nice that one of your employees dressed up in like old-timey clothing and was looking at us from the balcony. And we're like, we don't do that. So she had actually seen one of the working girls ghost up above. There was one time X103 radio station brought in a psychic from California during Halloween. This was in the 90s. And people, different paranormal groups could send representatives, and people won tickets to go on this haunted tour with this guy. And as we're walking through here, just some of the stuff he told, only about 4 or 5 people know. There's a spot on the floor in the basement that the basement flooded one time. And when the water receded, it caved in about 8 inches deeper than anything else. It looked like a grave. And the owner was like, cover it over. If there's somebody down there, leave them alone. If there's nobody down there, it makes a great story. Yeah. And so when the psychic's walking through, he points at that spot and says, I see a hand coming up through the ground. Somebody's buried there. So this is what we call, because we're so creative here, we call this the gravel hallway.
Wow.
These are supposedly the rooms that the runaways would hide out in until they could get them over to the trains. And during the Prohibition, these are the rooms that had the stills in it, that they were still making the alcohol in. See, there we go. So this, what do you say, watch your head? This is the room we call the cubby hole. We don't know what this room was. The rumors are that not everybody who came in the inn left the inn, and there are actually bodies buried in here, because where better to hide a body than someplace that already smells. There's still the remnants of one of the tunnels here. Another young lady who was a psychic from New Orleans is walking through here. And this door back over my shoulder here, one time the owner's son and I were up in his office, and he said, hey, by the way, the cleaning guy said you guys left the back door open last Saturday. And we're like, no, we didn't. We were both there and it was locked. And so I'm walking through with this psychic, and she points in that general vicinity and goes, oh, by the way, there was something left unlocked over here. That wasn't you guys, that was the ghost. Mm-hmm. So she knew that. And there were only like 4 of us that knew that story about that door being unlocked. But supposedly our spirits are kind of impish. They like to play practical jokes. Every once in a while, you know, we'll sage to keep them happy, and about once a month I'll leave a little shot of whiskey on the bar for them just in case.